Hey guys, it's Dennis. Just here today just to sort of give a voiceover over my drawing that I did last night. Well, actually, I did a couple of days ago and a day ago, and um, so I did it during a period of 2 days, 2 nights, and it took me about 5 hours to complete. So I just I didn't really want to get into much details about it, but basically the paper that I'm using is 9 by 12 vellum surface Bristol, and I'm drawing a drawing board that I like to use for all the drawings that I do. Uh, I did a head start because I was in a difficult angle when I was drawing. I had the tripod downwards, and it was kind of on my way, so I was had to draw around it. So I did a little bit of pre-sketch, did an outline ahead of, so you didn't really see the beginning of the process, but it was basically I just started. I started out by doing the eyes first, sort of like my measurement, my guides, and then I would from there I would kind of go out to to different parts, the nose, the eyebrows, kind of measure out, constantly making sure that I have the proportions down, and I'm not basically I'm just constantly measuring stuff against each other. So my basic points was my eyes, the eyes part. So that was my sort of my first part. So right now I'm using the lead holder pencil. I'm using the 2H. So it's a little bit on the light side. It's still an outline process, so it's not really, so I can just kind of erase it, or I can kind of go over it if I need to. It's not concrete, and then later on you'll see that I'm gonna switch to create a color graphite pencil. That one consists or starts from HB upwards to around 9B, but in this particular video or particular drawing, I only went up to 8B. I started out with HB to kind of go up from H. Well, the main thing that I constantly keep in mind is that I try to when I'm moving from different grades to the next, I try not to jump too fast. So for example, if I want to go from 2H, I'm not gonna jump right away to 2B or 4B, which is like the blacks. I make sure that I slowly move on from 2H, then to HB, and then to 2B, and then 3B, and so forth. So basically until I hit the darkest of the darkest. So always go from the lightest to the darkest, and kind of slowly build up your tones. So at least that's what I keep in my mind. I don't want to go too fast, because once you have the dark spots down, it's kind of hard to go down. You have to erase the whole thing. So basically just kind of eliminate those parts. So those are the types of mistakes that I kind of made in the beginning, and I'm trying to minimize it. Okay, let's talk about the materials that I use. I usually use Bristol paper, 9 by 12. I go up to about 11 by 14 usually. So whatever size that I can scan or whatever. As far as the pencils, I use lead holders. I have a 2H. I have 2B, I have 4B, and I have 6Bs for those. So basically, I like the feel of lead holders in my hands, because they're heavy, a little bit heavy, and I can kind of I just kind of like the feel of it. And then I switch from that to a sort of like a graphite create color pencils, which has a lot of LEDs on it. So basically I can use the sides for shading. So basically so basically the graphite pencils would be for making the form, making the the contours of the face, such as the shading and stuff like that, just to kind of give it some values. So basically those are the things that I use primarily for pencil drawings, or in this case anyways, but I like to use different things anyways, but I can talk about those in other videos. But in this case, just those two things and the 9x12 heavy board. I think this is about 100 pounds or something, like 110 pounds maybe, but it's a pretty heavy Bristol. So it's a vellum surface, so it has a little bit of tooth in it, so it's hard to get a little bit into details when it comes to this kind of paper, because you have to work extra hard just to get in between the little patterns that it has, and sometimes it can be difficult when you're trying to get some of the details in, as opposed to using it like a smooth type of paper. But I mean, I like it. I mean, it works fine. It gives you that little bit of texture. It's not my preference, but once in a while I like to use it just for variety. There's not much to it. Okay, on this part of the video, I'm erasing the side part of the right side, which is her left side. In most cases, I keep this area loose because I know that I'm always gonna constantly change the sides, for the duration of the outlining part, because I know that I'm always seeing something off, or the proportion is off, and I have a need to remove the part. So I just kind of keep it loose. I don't want to make permanent markings, especially the ears, the hair on the side. I just want to make those changes right away. So I think at this point I think the proportions looks fine. I don't know if you see those things, the markings that I do, but I do some constant measurement. But in most of the cases, I do eyeball a lot of these things, the proportions, the length, kind of measure between the eyes and the middle of the nose. How far is it from the ears? How far is it from the tip of the nose? So I'm always making constant measurements. I'm always looking at my reference, making sure that it lines up correctly. So so this is the part where I think I switched to my Create Color graphite pencil. I started with an HB pencil, always starting from the lowest value, which it's a good exercise, I think, to do that, because you don't want to start the darkest value too early. Even though I know for a fact that the eyelids, the eyes underneath where the shadow areas, it's gonna be like the darkest of the darks. So I could have gone and jumped to like 8B or 9B right away, but I just didn't want to, because it's kind of like a risky move. I mean, it's always good to kind of slowly just develop your tones, as opposed to just jumping in on it right away. And also it kind of gives you that gradient look. Slowly just building up your values. and I think that's really important when you're shading, particularly because you don't want to just jump right away, to the darkest. I just always you always want to slowly just develop it, starting from the lowest value, which in this case is the HB. So the set comes with HB, 2B, 3B, 4B, 5B, 6B, 7B, and oh wait, no, it's not 7B. Well, I know it's maybe 6 and then 7, or 6 and then 8 and then 9B, which is like the highest. And at least that's the highest that's what's out there. Anyways, so what am I doing here? So I think I might have switched to 2B in this case now. Just darkening it up a little bit, trying to get those highlights out of the way, make sure it pops, make sure everything, the darkest value stands out, which is pretty much what I always keep in mind. That's the only way to keep the things, the picture jump out of the page, is to make sure that you have a good dark values and light values, and the midtones, which is pretty much in between the darkest and the where the dark fades towards the light. So just darkening it up, just slowly, just okay. Here I'm testing. I think I might have switched to a different one, or I'm switching to a different type of pencil. Maybe I'm going darker. So I'm testing it. I have another paper that I have on the side that I always keep it constantly around me, so I can test stuff before I lay it down on the paper. I think it's a good practice to do that, so that I know beforehand how how the value is gonna look like before I make the changes, or before I lay it down on the paper. Even though it's still in the early stage of the drawing, and having that sort of like a habit, it's good, because when you're in the middle of the drawing already, and and you're trying to test it out in the paper and it doesn't look right, then you have to erase, or you have to kind of it's kind of like a risk, just test it out first, make sure it's good, so yeah. So you also notice that I'm always jumping a lot from different areas. I go from eyes to the nose. I'm right now I'm shooting for darkening the areas that I think needs to be dark. Top of the lips, the inside of the where the teeth area is, underneath, on the back, the side of the face where it transitions from her face to the hair area. So that one needs to be black, and that one is good because it sort of makes her face pop. It gives that three-dimensionality that you're kind of looking for, and it gives that realistic look. So the things that I kind of keep in mind when I'm doing like portraits or anything like realistic, anyways, is for 3D. I'm always thinking like in 3D space, always making sure that how do I make this picture pop, how do I make it look three-dimensional. So and the way to do that is to make sure that you have a good established dark areas, and also the light areas, which is like where the shadow or where the light source is coming from, which in this case is coming from the right side of her face, right side for us and her left side. Anyways, so the dark is only gonna be in the left. So it's sort of, you know, so that's where the darkest of the darks are. So still building up, you know, darkening up the stuff where everything goes. Right now I'm focusing on the hair part, and as you can see, what am I doing? I'm not really like, you know, looking to draw every strand of the hair. I'm looking at drawing only the bulk of it, the shape, you know, as you can see right here. And also right now I'm establishing the darks. I'm adding shading to it, which is plain black. So and also, like, you know, the shadows underneath her eyes, underneath the teeth, and also when I work on the teeth, well, as a tip anyways, when you're working on the teeth, you don't want to draw like where the teeth, you know, is splitting. You just have to kind of make a suggestion or suggest that there's a line there by having like a dark line underneath it. So right now I'm just building up the sides, the dark areas, like, you know, I know that I'm gonna be using a lot of graphite pencil in this one because I'm gonna be shading a lot, or it's gonna be there's gonna be like a lot of dark spots, especially her hair. She has dark hair, so I think I'm grabbing onto the next pencil in this case. You know what I noticed though? This set has two 4Bs and they have different serial numbers, so I was trying to figure out like what's the difference between those two. One is not, the only thing that I only noticed was one wasn't sharpened, but I still understand what, you know, why there's two 4Bs in the set, maybe. Anyways, so I think I jumped to 4B here because I wasn't satisfied with, you know, the shading that I was getting with 2Bs, especially on that area. Yeah, but you know, I'm constantly gonna switch between 4B and 2B in this area, or draw the whole thing. I think I'm done with HB at this point because there's really no point in going back to HB. And to me, in my mind, HB and 2Bs can be they're pretty close to each other. I mean, as far as the value, the range, there's not much difference except that 2B is softer, which you can smudge easier. That's the only thing. The thing about that I like about HB is that you know, it's sort of like in between the B and H. You know, it has that sort of like characteristic to it that I like. That kind of, you know, it's in both worlds. It satisfies both worlds. You know, the darks and the hards. So right now the hair I'm just darkening up the areas. You know, I know there's gonna be like, from, you know, at this point there's gonna be a lot of work ahead of me because I have to pretty much just darken it up. You know, I almost bought a graphite powder a couple weeks ago. I was in the art supply store, but decided not to because it was about $10 for a powder, and I wasn't really sure if I'm gonna be using that much. You know, I guess it'll be kind of useful for this case because there's a lot of black areas, and you know, it's just straight up black, and just, you know, you just wanna just sprinkle it with just darks, you know, all across that, um, instead of having to spend like an hour just to kind of just build it up. But you know, I figured $10 is it's kind of a little bit too much, you know, for like a graphite, just for a graphite powder that I'm not really gonna be using a lot. So I don't know. I might buy it one of these days, but you never know. Let's see here. Still darkening it up. Still working on the dark areas. Nothing really new. See. Yeah. So this particular drawing took me about 5 hours total, but it looks like I was able to compress it down to about now under an hour. So it's like a 5 times speed in this case. I'm also doing I also removed the sound, of course, because it's very loud, and also the video was the duration of 2 days. I think. Oh shit! What the hell? My head is on the way. Damn. I was getting down, man. I was kind of getting into it. You know, I was like, it was like a hard. I think it was like a hard angle because, you know, like the tripod is on the way, and you know, I usually just get down to it. You know, I just get my face as close to the drawing as possible. But I was trying as hard as I can not to get in the way of the camera, but man, I think I got my head in there, huh? Anyways, okay, continuing. Man, I knew my head was on the way, and then I have to like constantly just kind of just like, did I really do that, or am I really on the way of the camera? Because I had it in an angle. The tripod is sitting on my desk, and you know, it's like in a weird position, so that's why it's angled. You know, it's like sort of sideways. It's not a straight. I would like to do it. I would like to, you know, if I had the choice, I would probably have done it straight on, but you know, that would be like on my way. And I like working on the flat surface. You know, I guess the tripod would have been nice. You know, if I had the drawing actually sort of like tilted towards me and sort of like parallel to my face or something like that, and then I can position the tripod a little bit better in this case. So anyways, back to the drawing. So I'm starting to like build the values for the face, and I think I went back to HB, and that's because I didn't want to go crazy and just, you know, start with 2B right away. You know, I was trying to test out the waters, and you know, I'm just trying to make sure that I don't want to get too dark. You know, I don't want to just be dark right away. You know, especially that I'm working in sort of like a grayscale, two tones type, you know, drawing. So it's just about values. Actually, it's easier as opposed to doing a colored painting, because you're not worrying about you know, the different colors, and you know, and then on top of that, having to worry about the different values that comes with the colors, and how the light source is gonna affect the colors and how it's gonna change. So there's a lot more things involved when you're doing coloring. So I you know, working with, you know, this black and white things, you know, it's a good practice. You know, this is like a practice drawing, so it's not really, you know, it's not something I'm doing for someone, so it's like I can just go crazy with it, right? So, but I guess if I'm doing it for like a person, then I'll probably just, might take more time, or something like that. Well, not really. So I mean, lately I've been trying to take my time on my drawings because I mean I don't really see a reason for having to speed through it and you know just getting done right away, because really it's just stressful, and you know I think the speed just comes naturally over time. So I'm hoping that that will be the case. So because I did this in 5 hours, and I think that was a pretty good time, you know. But granted, I didn't really put um, a lot of details, as much as I want to. Um, I think there's a point in the drawing where you just have to just kind of know when to quit, which is kind of hard for me sometimes to kind of just kind of I don't know. To me, like I take some time in the drawing because I want to get like I don't want to miss any details that should have been there, and like after I finish it, like oh crap, like I see something that's missing. So like when I see something, when I look at the drawing afterwards, after I posted it, or after I scanned it, I see some flaws in it, and like oh, like I wish I could have just taken my time, and just kind of just went back and just kind of changed a little bit things, because to be honest, it's what the likeness of the drawing to the reference is pretty much the subtle details, you know um, making that little details, and that's what I think, that's what I like about portraits, is because um, everyone's face is different, and the contour of the face, the shape of the face, they're all different. So to me, it it comes it comes natural to me. I like it, and I enjoy doing portraits, and I think majority of the drawings that I'm gonna be doing in the future is gonna be a lot of portraits, because it's just it just to me it just feels natural, and also like I also like drawing girls, in particular, because of the hair. To me, when I started, the hardest part, hardest thing about drawing for me was drawing women. I can draw men easily, but it was sort of like a struggle. You know, I can't distinguish why I was having problem with drawing women. And to me, like the only way I can learn how to draw women, better, is to just constantly just draw women, And part of the fact is, the how women's shape, their face is different as opposed to guys. It's like slightly trimmer. They have this certain shape to it, and their eyes are different. The eyebrows are different. And also like the hair. There's always like a constant challenge in doing the hair, because everyone's hair is different, and women's hair tends to be longer, and uh, it's a pretty challenging situation when you have to think about all these elements, because guys have short hairs, and most of the time, and you know I've been drawing men for my whole life, so like it's not really a big deal. Once in a while I'll just draw men just for the heck of it, because I like the character. But other than that, I mean, I just draw out women from the things that I from the shows that I'm familiar with. Um, in this case, Lana from Smallville, you know, um, she had a good character in that show. But I think after season 4, I don't know, wherever the part where she had these powers and stuff, and I was getting annoying, she was starting annoying and stuff. But I mean, in the end, I mean, in the beginning, she was like, she was a good character, but she got annoying towards the end. But um, yeah, and she's cool. I like her role when she did that Chun-Li movie. That was kind of cool. I think those are the only 2 movies that I've seen her from. But yeah, the most significant was Smallville. Um, so let's go back. Let's get back to the drawing. Um, hmm. So basically, I'm just lining it up, just making sort of little hints here and there. How about the hair structure? Uh, I was kind of hoping that I would fade the hair, where I'm at right now. I'm sort of trying to fade it from right to the left, from our point of view. It's trying to fade it towards that area, and I think that's what I did, anyways. Um, and then the hair goes down, and also it kind of blended in with the darkest with her shirt, because her shirt was also dark in the picture that I've had. So it kind of, her hair was sort of blending in on that area. So yeah, I apologize. Like, I constantly just, I think it's a good idea that I sped this up, because I was like eating chips while I was drawing. So you know, um, if you see that, I'm stopping for a little bit, that means you know, I'm probably eating or something like that, and yeah, good thing I got rid of the background audio, because really that's, you know. So now I'm darkening it up a little bit, because I want to separate the darks with the shadows. I want the shadows to be sort of like grays, and the darks to be just black. So and the only way to do that is just kind of darken the areas a little bit more, to kind of create a good separation between those areas. So just build it up, our eyelids, and also, like, it doesn't seem like when you draw, it doesn't seem like you're going anywhere. Well, that's how I feel like sometimes, anyways. Like when I draw, like I feel like, man, like, okay, I apologize for blurriness, or sort of like the color difference. I switched to my sort of my HD camera, which was the Sony NEX5N, and I guess I didn't realize that I just kind of video recorded it. I didn't even think about changing the settings, so I guess it was set to daylight mode or something, and I don't know. I still have to mess with it. So the first one I was using was the PowerShot S95 from Canon for the previous shots that I did, and then it just ran out of battery, just ran out of juice, so I had to charge it. And then I decided that I would just switch to a different video, so which is why this kind of sucks. But well, once in a while I guess hopefully there's a way to sharpen it. So, but anyways, this is, I'm coming to a point where I'm just like adding more shading as I go. just basically just darken the areas that are the darkest, just because those are the ones that are gonna be, later on when I start smudging, when I start using the smudger and the Tertullians and those things. You'll see why. So basically, the dark areas is where I can kind of reuse those same areas to darken up, the other parts of the picture. I mean, although it's sort of like an optional thing. I didn't have to use a Tertullian or smudger or those things, but I think it sort of adds. It sort of smooths it out, because I mean the main goal is to remove sort of like the sharp pencil edges that you see when when you use a pencil or something like that. So I want to eliminate those as much as possible, and the only way to do that is kind of smudge it, to smudge it out. When I first started drawing, I was basically using my finger. So you see my hand on the way. So basically I kind of I was working on the right side of the picture. I noticed that I was kind of like rubbing the graphite on her face unintentionally. So later on you're gonna see me like erase some of those parts, because you know and that's why later on you also see that I'll start putting a paper underneath my hand, which still didn't work out very well. But anyways, when I first started, I didn't really know that smudging, these smudging tools exist. So I was using my fingers to spread out, the graphite on the paper, and it worked pretty well, except that it's not consistent. So if you have some oil on your fingers, it's you're basically adding it to the paper, which will make your drawing look a little weird. It would look inconsistent. It would have that feel of once you mix the oil and the graphite on the paper, it's kind of hard to erase. It sort of sticks to it, and it's gonna be harder to make modifications if you have to get to that point. So you notice here that I have pencil underneath my hands, which doesn't really work very well, because the paper is gonna catch graphite underneath it, which is pretty much gonna be smudging it. So instead of my palm or my hand doing the smudging, it's gonna be the paper doing the smudging thing. So kind of, like I said, it's like a weird angle for me. So like I wasn't even paying attention to it. So like you notice here, like I have so many darks on her side of the face, and I wasn't really intending doing that, and that's because I was spreading. See, I'm starting to erase it. So I was kind of, I didn't really mean to do that, but basically those parts are being smudged from the hair part, which has a lot of graphite on it. So now I'm just like going back and erasing. It's not a. I was like freaking out at this point. I was like, man, like why did I do that? So I was trying to keep it cool, Hopefully I can smudge it. I can just move the graphite around. Hopefully that would kind of help out. So I'm just see if I can save it. See if I can sort of use some of those dark areas to kind of spread it out. But I decided to just kind of erase a little bit more, because it's just too much. At this point, I think I have enough tone on the paper that I just use a lot of smudging for most of the part. from here till the end, and I think it's just a matter of just laying down the shading and all that stuff. So I'm just still just erasing using the kneading kneading eraser, but lightly. I'm not trying to erase it completely, because I still want to save the graphite, some of the graphites that I have on that I have laid down already, so I don't have to redo them. So maybe I can reuse some of those. And also I'm using the 3 or 4 different type of smudgers. They come in different sizes, so I think there's like about three different sizes. One really big one, which is for like the big parts, such as the hair, and then I'm using right now the medium type, which is for like the face. So I try not to use the same one, so I would have a separate one just for the hair, and I would have a different set that I use just for the face area, because I don't want to mix those up. Although I can remove some of the graphite from the smudge tool, I just it's just more tedious that way. So to me it's just a good idea to just kind of separate those out, so that they don't so the hair color is not going to affect the shading on the face. So because I'm good with how much tone I have on the paper, so I don't want to add any more darks on it. So whatever I have is pretty much just a matter of just moving things around, distributing it to different parts. So since I already have some dark marks on the side of the lips, I can just kind of use that and just push it out to the middle of the lips, and add some shading on her lips. So as you can see right here, I can use the same smudging thing for other areas, because when I work on dark areas, I'm sort of grabbing some little bit of graphite from that area, so I can spread it out and I can use it as a pencil, and I can make these subtle changes. So I'm using a tortillon right here to make some changes to like the fine areas, like her face and her nose. See, I'm still using the paper at this point. I don't think I have realized it yet. That I made a mistake, or I'm just spreading some of the graphite around, and as you can see right here, it's still like her side of the face has become dark again, and that's like a mess. Back to her eyes, back at the side of the nose, or the underneath her nose where the dark areas are. Just kind of spreading that out, spreading around. Make sure I'm just capturing the shadows, the cast shadows. So let's see, why did I stop there? Anyways, so I think yes. So when you're going from her side of the outline of the face towards the bottom of her neck, for instance, you don't want to have like a sharp contrast. You want to have sort of like a subtle change in value. So what I'm referring to is, so let's say the outline of her face is dark, and her bottom of her neck is light, like white. It doesn't have the good transition in values. So it's always good to kind of look at it from sort of like a gradient point of view. So you want to have you want a value to fade out smoothly. So you don't want to go from black to white. So it's kind of, it adds, you know, the three-dimensionality that I was kind of talking about, like in the beginning. Um, so still adding to the hair. Uh, it was kind of like a pain. Sort of like adding the blacks, because it's sort of like boring to me, you know. Um, just repetitive stuff. So like, if, as you can see, like at the top of her head, there's like a light source, so that's gonna remain white. Um, and you know, I'm just using this smudger tool, and I'm using the kneading eraser, to create like the highlights, and also on the left side she has an earring, a round or sphere looking earrings. Just going back and constantly working on the shading on various parts. Yeah, I didn't want to, you know, get stuck in one area and forget about the other areas. So I'm always looking at the whole thing. It's just one big picture, you know. Just constantly just making, you know, subtle changes. I was talking about that. So basically, when I'm drawing, I feel like I'm not really moving. I'm not really doing, you know, a lot of things. But I always kind of keep in mind that every stroke that I make, either, you know, I'm using the pencil or I'm using the smudger tool, I'm always sort of adding something to the whole picture. You know, every little stroke that I make add values to the whole picture. So it's not just, you know, even though it's taking so long, you know, sort of like, you know, like I look back when I was like going to college, I felt like I wasn't going anywhere. I was taking all these stupid classes, but you know, in the end it worked out, you know. So it's sort of like drawing. It's like the same thing, you know. It's like you're always like, I'm always impatient, you know. I'm always like, you know, why is this like taking forever? Like I feel like, you know. So basically, just, you know, every stroke counts towards something. So especially when you're drawing, I mean, you're just not making. Okay, here we go. Something. I'm using sort of like a pencil eraser, and using this brush thing. I'm using the pencil eraser for the areas that are very, you know, sort of like sharp erasing that I want. So needed eraser is for areas where it's sort of like a, you know, you don't want to erase it, like fully erase it, sort of like just want to dab and just kind of erase like a, so like a little bit over the top of that particular thing that you want to erase. But the eraser is for more for precision, where you want to erase like the you know, the tiny areas, just want to go over it. So so going back, so the drawing for me is like, you know, it's like a constant battle in my head. I'm always, you know, like thinking like, you know, I'm not going anywhere with this stroke, like, you know, is it taking forever, you know, stuff like that. Just, you know, tiny things. But once I get into the zone where I'm not thinking about anything at all, and I think that's a good thing. That's like the best part of drawing, and I think that's like my favorite part, because an hour, 2, 3 hours, 4 hours, it just goes and flies by so fast. It's crazy. Like sometimes I wish there's like more time during the day. And when I was working on this one last night, it was like towards midnight already, and I had to run the next day, so I had to make sure that just either I finish it up or just, you know, do do one more segment, you know, the next day. And I was just running out of time. It's like I just want to finish it tonight, so I was just kind of trying to rush it, you know. um, what else? Her side of the face, yeah, that area right there is you know, you have to kind of, you know, the 3D aspect of it, you just have to kind of like think of it as sort of like, you know, there's like a mountain or something, or like a little hill, and like a big, you know, like, or like a slope or something, like it just like a different contour, or at least you want to make it appear that way. You're sort of like tricking the mind to make it appear that, you know, there's like a cheek, you know, there's like a, her cheek is sort of like, you know, it goes up, you know, so, you know, and the way to do that is to have, you know, some like good value, you know, adding the highlights. Okay, I switched back to the camera, so I was charging the other camera, and then I think the other one died, or, you know, it kind of ran out of juice, so I had to charge my my Sony NEX5 camera, and fortunately the other one was good to go. My my Canon PowerShot S95, which is this one. Uh, I find that it's pretty good in like low light situation, or at least in dark time. I mean, I have a pretty good lighting on my kitchen, but yeah, but this is just automatic. You know, I didn't have to think about setting it. But then again, it doesn't really have a lot of settings, so it's kind of just made to work out of the box, as opposed to the Sony NX5, where it has, you have to kind of do a lot of settings. You have to sort of make a lot of adjustments to kind of make, you know, the good shots. So it's good that we're back in this camera, but I think it's probably, I'm probably gonna go back to the old one at some point. I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm gonna start taking videos using this camera, as opposed to the other one, or either that or make some adjustments to it, you know. Yeah. So in this case, you know, just making sure that the blending is pretty good on the eyes area and the lips. It's funny because I didn't even touch the her mouth or the teeth throughout the whole, you know, majority of the process after I did the outline, and that's because I already established the values that I wanted. I didn't want to go too dark anymore. Like I said, you know, this is the subtle hints, you know, to make the distinction between each piece of tooth, as opposed to making those lines, and it looks kind of ugly if, you know, if you start differentiating those, you know, different things. Anyways, so you know, I'm kind of using the smudger here to kind of, you know, add sort of like some details. Like I'm using as a pencil to kind of put on her hair, throwing some hair, you know, kind of give it a little bit more hair, little strands on the side. And here I'm going back to pencil because I felt like it needs to be darkened a little bit more. And after all the smudging, you know, the value has sort of like weakened a little bit, so adding, kind of reinforcing the dark values a little bit more. It's just kind of just to make it just pop, just like in your face, sort of like pop. Oh man, so wait. You know, it's funny, I almost signed it. I was like, man, oh, I did sign it, shit. So okay guys, I guess that wraps it up. This is the drawing, and the link to my DeviantArt is menacestudio.deviantart And if you have any questions, just let me know. Peace out. Thank you.